Hello everyone, this is the lesson Diseases, and I'm proud to say that we are going to the second term of online teaching, and this is a science lesson titled Diseases for 5th standard. Please open your textbooks on page 164. So let's start with diseases. Now the first one, let us begin on page 164. Write T for the true statements and F for the false statements. 1. Our body needs different nutrients to grow and stay healthy. Yes, true. You need carbohydrates, you need proteins, you need fats, you need minerals. Second one. We can eat anything at any time and in any amount. No, that's wrong. You have to eat a balanced diet. You cannot eat a lot of chocolates and a lot of butter, a lot of bread. No. At any time, maybe in the middle of the night or early morning, you have your fixed times for your fixed meals. So that is false. Next one. Regular exercise and proper rest are essential for good health. You have to exercise and you have to rest also, and then only your body will be fit and strong. It's true. Last one. We must take precautions to prevent diseases. Yes, you have to be careful and take precaution against diseases. Like all of you are using the sanitizer now because of the coronavirus. So you have to take precautions. You have to have preventive measures to prevent yourself from getting infected from the disease. A disease is a condition when our body or some parts does not function properly. Each disease has its own symptom. A symptom is an indication of a disease. For example, fever is a symptom of a disease. Similarly, headaches and body aches are also symptoms. Sometimes a disease can be diagnosed on the basis of symptoms. Diseases can be of two types, communicable and non-communicable. Now, as I told you, a disease, when you are having fever, your body temperature is rising. So that is something wrong with your body. So your body is not in a healthy state of being. Some people have diabetes. Now diabetes is a disease of the pancreas. So that means the pancreas is not functioning properly. Some people have a heart problem. So that means a disease of the heart. The heart does not function properly, and some people are advised to use a pacemaker so that it makes do away with some problems related to the heart. There are many people who have a problem with the backbone, and they are advised to take some medications too. Some have arthritis problems, some have rheumatitis problems, some have ear problems, some have eye problems. See, I'm having a problem with my eyes, that is why I'm using spectacles. So those who can see properly and they don't need spectacles. So you can say when a body part doesn't function properly, that is a disease. We are suffering from some sort of a disease, but only some are very serious diseases, and some are not so serious diseases like arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. They are pain that affects the joints and muscles, but it can be cured by taking some painkillers or even massaging with some particular type of oil. Now diseases are of two types, communicable and non-communicable. Communicable diseases are those that are spread by contact or when we eat contaminated food or drink contaminated water or eat food cooked in that type of water. So that is a communicable disease. Like if I have a cold and I come to school, tomorrow the person sitting next to me will get a cold. That is communicable disease, because when I sneeze or when I cough, the droplets from my mouth or from my nose that come out will be having the germs of this fever or flu, and that is in the atmosphere, and immediately it attacks the person who is the weakest. So flu, influenza, and now the coronavirus, this is a communicable disease. And non-communicable diseases are many of the diseases that cannot be communicated or given to others by infect water or food or touch or even by speaking, close relations. Like the heart disease, it's a non-communicable disease. If I have a heart disease, I cannot give it to my father or mother or brother. It is not like giving, fever. If I get fever, slowly all members in the family will get the fever because it's a communicable disease. But a heart problem is not a communicable disease, so it cannot be given by way of touch of food or water. Now coming to the communicable diseases. Diseases that spread from one person to another are called communicable diseases. Communicable diseases are caused by germs. Germs are very small living things. They are also called microbes. These microbes can be seen only under a microscope. There are 4 types of microbes. They are bacteria, virus, and protozoa. Bacteria are single-celled, you can say microorganisms, and we have bacteria that are in the atmosphere all around us, and some are useful to us and some are harmful. Now in our gut or in our body itself, we have many bacteria that aid digestion and many bacteria that are harmful for us. Now on the surface of my skin, when I am here, on the surface of your skin, all around you have a lot of bacteria in the atmosphere that are settling down, moving around, but many are not able to affect us because our immunity system is high. Then you have the virus. Now remember, virus generally, according to medical terms or medical terminology, is just a strand of RNA, that is ribose nucleic acid, and a protein. Now by itself, virus cannot survive. It needs a host. That is why the coronavirus is needing a host. The minute it lands on somebody, it replicates or multiplies and the disease spreads. But as such, the virus is not able to survive. It needs a host, a middleman for its survival. Next you have protozoa. Now protozoa are one-celled, single-celled animals, and they are found all over the world. On the land, in the water, in the ocean, in the lake, everywhere. And protozoans have many different types of protozoans are there, which cause a lot of very dangerous or serious diseases too. Now, next one, how do communicable diseases spread? Communicable diseases spread in different ways. Through infected food and water. Diseases such as typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis, jaundice, dysentery, and food poisoning are transmitted through contaminated food and water. Flies play an important part in contaminating food. They visit rubbish heaps and pick up disease, causing germs from there. They then sit on the food and transfer these germs to the food. When we eat such food, we fall sick. Now, typhoid is a disease that is got by taking in contaminated food and water. It is a bacteria-related disease, and of course, it is caused by Shigella, and cholera is also a disease that is caused by Vibrio cholerae, that is a bacteria, and it is also transferred by from person to person or by taking in contaminated food and water. Now, what is contaminated food and water? Contaminated food is that food in which has got the germs of this particular disease, cholera or dysentery or jaundice or tuberculosis. Now, if I have one of these diseases in me, like cholera or typhoid, and I drink water and keep that glass there. Now, the next healthy person comes and touches that glass. Immediately, the germs that have passed from my hand to the surface of the glass would pass into the body of that next healthy person, and that person contracts the disease. So, that is how a communicable disease is transferred from one person to other. And also, if I drink the water that is contaminated, I do not know that water has the germs of cholera, and I drink it. The same thing, I will also get the disease, and if other person in my family drinks that same water, they all get the disease. Now, when a person has typhoid or cholera, that person has to be isolated. kept in a separate room. That person's clothing should not be touched by the others. That person's food and should be cooked separately and given in a separate plate and a glass and all that, and that should not be touched or used by the others. The room should be sterilized, the clothes should be sterilized and washed, and it should be very, very clean. The person should be kept in very well ventilated, hygienic conditions to prevent the spread of the disease. Now coming to jaundice. Tuberculosis is a respiratory disorder. Jaundice is a part where of the liver gets diseased. Now what happens in jaundice is there is excess of bilirubin released. Now bilirubin is the red part of blood cells, red part of the red blood cells. Now excess of this is released into the bloodstream, you get jaundice. Now what happens is when the red blood cells that are damaged or worn out are repaired by the body in the bloodstream, the excess, some other red blood cells are also carried into the bloodstream, and there what happens, they are broken down and excess of bilirubin is formed in the blood, which harms the liver, and that is the way jaundice is caused in the person. Now there is no remedy for jaundice in the modern medicine. You have some medicines in Ayurveda, and but you have to have, only thing is you can they give you some antibiotics, and you have to have diet which is rich in iron, because hemoglobin is being broken down in the body. Next you have dysentery. Now dysentery is also a communicable disease, and what happens here is dysentery is carried by the houseflies. Now these houseflies, they sit in the garbage areas, the dustbin, and they have fine pads on the underside of their legs. And when they sit on this garbage areas or dustbin, the dirt or germs from this garbage sticks onto the pads that is on the surface, that is on the underside of their legs, and then when they come and fly and sit on the food gets contaminated with these germs. So that is why we should always see that the food in our house is kept covered, water is always kept covered. Now dysentery as such is a problem that affects the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract, and it is caused by the bacteria Escherichia coli or Entamoeba histolytica. So these names are confusing for you all, that doesn't matter. I have just told you as an extra bit of information so that you will remember. Dysentery is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. Next is, you have to be very careful when you get dysentery, because dysentery means you have loose running stools, and sometimes the stools are accompanied with mucus and blood. In that case, you are dehydrated and you have to drink a lot of water, and ORS, oral rehydration salt sachets, have to be taken mixed with water, and keep drinking that so that your body needs all the fluids, is replacing all the fluids that are lost when you are going to the toilet many times. Next one is through air. So these are the different ways how you will get infected by flies, house flies, and other for contaminated food and water. So if you take contaminated food and water also, you fall a prey to many of these diseases like typhoid, cholera, jaundice, dysentery, and even food poisoning. And even flies also carry a number of germs on the pad of their feet, that they go and sit on the food items in your house or the hotel or any place, and then when we go and consume that food, we are liable to fall a prey to the diseases. So coming to the next one, how diseases are communicated through the air. Now this is by food and water. Now the next mode of communication of the disease is through air. When a person coughs or sneezes, the germs are released in the air. Diseases such as influenza, flu, cough, cold, chickenpox, and measles are passed on from one person to another through breathing air containing germs. Now you see, we are all living in an age where the COVID-19 or the coronavirus is taking so many lives day after day. The first precautionary measure that the health department is asking each of us is to wear a mask. Now why do we wear a mask? That is because when we speak, the droplets from our saliva will not fall onto the other person. Now, we do not know, we may be carriers, we may not be carriers, or we may be carriers and asymptomatic carriers, that is, we do not show any symptoms. But the other person, when we speak, the other person is not having a very high level of immunity, the other person will be affected with the disease. That is why we are advised to wear a mask so that it prohibits or inhibits the droplets of saliva from going into the atmosphere and going and affecting other people. That is if we are sick. If we are healthy, it's okay, no problem. But there are many people who are carriers of the virus and they have no symptoms at all. Because they have a very high level of immunity, they are very strong, they don't show any symptoms, but they are carriers of the virus. And unfortunately, while they speak, if their droplets or saliva droplets, or when they sneeze, the nasal droplets happen to fall on some people close by, or some other people come in contact with that, and that those people have not got such high immunity levels, they are affected. So the first thing is we have to wear a mask. Second thing is the government has said that we have to use a sanitizer to always wash our hands. Now the sanitizer is alcohol based. Now because alcohol will not allow the germs to live. The germs need a condition where the acidic and alkaline levels are equal. But the alcohol content is more in the sanitizer, which does not allow the germs to live, and that is why you're asked to wash your hands with sanitizer. So that in case you go and touch any surface where there are germs, the germs are killed. And then you're also supposed to be not touching your nose and mouth and face with those hands, because immediately germs may be transferred. Now, through air, as I told you, and that is why the government health department tells us that when we have to sneeze, whether in case of a virus or no virus, we always have to cover our nose and sneeze or cough, because we should not let the germs from our body pass on to somebody else. Now, diseases such as influenza, I told you, influenza, that is fever, cough and cold, they are transmitted through air. That is when somebody sneezes, when somebody coughs, the droplets are shed into the atmosphere, and that travels miles and reaches persons who may get infected. Now, chickenpox is also such a disease where the germs are transmitted through air and people get infected. Then, when we are in close proximity with a person who has cold or cough or chickenpox or measles, what happens is we are liable to get the disease. Now, measles is a disease that affects the respiratory tract. And in case that person has measles, he or she coughs or spits, there will be germs around, and the persons who are in close proximity to that particular infected person will get the disease. Now coming to the next one, how germs are communicated, that is through insect bites. Insects such as mosquitoes, fleas, bugs, lice, the sandfly and the Sensei Fly. Remember, it is Sensei Fly, not Tsetse fly, Sensei Fly. Suck the blood of people when they bite. When they bite a sick person, they suck the blood containing disease-causing germs. These germs are passed on to the next person they bite. In this way, diseases such as malaria, yellow fever, plague and sleeping sickness are spread from one person to another. Now, as you know, mosquitoes, they are the number one insects which spread malaria. Now, the mosquitoes are of three types: the Anopheles, the Culex and the Aedes. In this, the female mosquito is the one that spreads malaria. It is not the male. It is the female mosquito that spreads the malaria. Now, if I have malaria, a healthy mosquito comes and bites me. it will take, the mosquito will bite me for blood, isn't it? So when it bites me, the blood in my body is contaminated with this malarial germs, and this mosquito sucks blood from my body with the malarial germs and it flies off. There is nothing wrong with the mosquito, nothing happens to the mosquito. But when the same mosquito bites another healthy person, what happens is the germs that have been carried from my body, the malarial germs that have been carried from my body, are immediately passed on to the next healthy person. So here the agent for transmission of this malaria is the mosquito. Next one, you have fleas, bugs, lice. Now these are all small fleas can be found in animals. Bugs you have in bed bug, small creatures. They also carry a lot of diseases. They suck blood. You know, a bed bug, if you have bed bugs in your house, they'll be under the mattress in the bed. And once you lie on the bed, they will slowly come and bite you, any part of the body, and suck blood. And if they have some diseases or germs in them, they will transfer it to us. Then lice, of course, lice are found on the head, and more than boys, I think girls are prone to have lice on their head. And we use a lot of medicated shampoos to kill away the lice. Now lice is such a thing that it spreads from one person to another. That is why sometimes we see young girls coming home after school, and you find them scratching their head a lot, and then you realize that they have got lice in their hair from some friends in school that very day. And then what you do is you use some shampoos based with sulfur to kill the lice in the head, otherwise it multiplies, and the food of the lice is to suck blood from the head. And you'll always be scratching. There's a tendency to keep on scratching, and it irritates if you have lice on the head. So it is best if you have even one lice on the head to kill it or to get rid of it. Then coming to the Sensei Fly. Now the Sensei Fly is a fly that is found in the African countries. And this fly causes a sickness called sleeping sickness. Now I'll tell you why it is called a sleeping sickness, because when somebody gets infected with this disease, the sleeping pattern of this person is disrupted. There is no particular time that the person will sleep or get up. Now usually we all go to sleep at night, but you may find a person who has sleeping sickness is awake the whole night and goes to sleep in the morning. Or he may sleep for 1 hour and be awake for another 2 hours. Or he may sleep for 4 hours, then be awake for 1 hour. So the sleeping pattern of the person is, disrupted altogether, haywire. And that is why it is called sleeping sickness. Now this Sensei Fly is carrying this disease, sleeping sickness. How? It gets it from a virus, or not a bacterial virus, it's bacteria, Trypanosoma gambians. Now Trypanosoma gambians is the one that causes sleeping sickness. Now if this parasite, Trypanosoma gambians, bites the Sensei Fly, the Sensei Fly has no change in its lifestyle or chemical composition, nothing like that. But the minute the Sensei Fly bites a healthy person, this person is affected and falls a prey to this disease called as sleeping sickness. And as I told you, the person suffers from a disrupted sleep pattern, and that is why it is called sleeping sickness. And the major organs affected will be your muscles, your joints, and you will have bouts of headache and fever and a lot of fatigue. Then coming to the next one is sand fly. Now sand flies are those flies that are biting ones. All flies don't bite, but sand flies are so named because they bite. Now their habitat is near the beaches and warm places, under the rocks, in crevices, in warm places, in warm cities, warm countries. So you can think that sand flies will be prevalent in India also, because India has a tropical climate. Now the sand fly is a carrier of another disease called leishmaniasis. Now, leishmaniasis has three forms. The most serious form is the black fever or Kala Azar, as known in India. Now, Kala Azar did not have a vaccine, but a vaccine was developed by one medical practitioner, Dr. Upendra, way back in some years before, maybe in the 1920s or 25 or 1929, I don't remember, but a vaccine has been developed, and Kala Azar is in fact a very fatal disease. Here the spleen, the liver is affected, and the symptoms again are you have fatigue, that is you feel tired, you feel lethargic, and you have some bouts of headache, fever, vomiting, nausea, and also you will not be able to walk for long, you will feel very tired. So this, if it is not treated immediately, Kala Azar is a fatal or a deadly disease. It can result in death. Then other diseases are yellow fever, and here before going to African countries, the passport officials tell us that you have to be vaccinated for yellow fever, because yellow fever is a very serious disease. And as I told you, plague is also spread by these rats and mosquitoes and also some type of flies, and sleeping sickness I told you by the Sensei Fly. So remember, these insects, the Sensei Fly and the sand fly, they are the carriers of serious diseases. Sand fly is related to leishmaniasis, and the Sensei Fly is related to sleeping sickness caused by the Trypanosoma gambians. With this, insect bite, spreading through insect bite is over. The next topic is through direct contact. Ringworm infection and measles spread by coming into direct contact with the person suffering from them. Now, if you have ringworm and you are in close contact with somebody in the family, what happens is automatically that person will also get the infection. That is through direct contact. Measles also, if you have measles and you are in contact with some persons of your family, you don't have to do anything. You will just pass on the disease. It is through direct contact. With this, I come to the end of the first part of the lesson. Your homework will be to read this lesson very well. Listen to my video at least once or twice to get the names of the carriers like Trypanosoma gambians, Escherichia coli, Entamoeba histolytica. Escherichia coli is also a carrier of dysentery. Entamoeba histolytica is also one of the causes for amoebic dysentery. And I told you the sand fly for leishmaniasis. So just remember to listen to my video once or twice before you go on to the next part of the lesson. Thank you.